Good morning, everyone. Good morning. There's a few mornings. Welcome, everyone, to the State of the City here in Golden Valley. My name is Shannon Full. I'm the president of the Twin West Chamber of Commerce and get the great pleasure of participating in today's great event. So Twin West is a regional chamber. We serve 10 of the western suburbs, including this fabulous city here in Golden Valley. Our mission is all around growth and prosperity and helping companies, small companies, large companies, local companies, grow and prosper. So we work on lots of different spectrums of networking and connecting business leaders, but a lot of public policy work, and we're focusing a lot more on our local public policy issues. Talent and workforce is a big initiative that we're working a ton on now with public-private partnerships with our school districts and working with businesses to better connect business opportunities, career-connected learning in the schools. So it gives me a great pleasure to be here. We just had a great dynamic city managers meeting yesterday in which we had 7 of our city managers all joining together regionally to talk about what are some things that we should be doing here in the western suburbs to move the economy forward, to better help our residents. So we're really interested in the collaborative efforts that we are positioned for the future. So this is a new venue for us, and we've got great attendance, so it's great to see so many people here. So I am going to turn over the program to our wonderful mayor, and so Shep's got a bunch of updates for you, and we look forward to that.
All right. So I'm trying to make sure I get in the right position so I'm not literally standing in the faces of the city council members. It's kind of aggressive there. So anyway, well, good morning. Thank you, Shannon. Where'd Shannon go? Thank you very much. Really appreciate the introduction. And it is so wonderful to have Twin West as a partner in so many ways in Golden Valley, especially with the Golden Valley Business Council, which just met last week, and we'll be meeting at we meet on the 4th Thursday of each month at Brookview Community Center. It's set bright and early at 7:30 a.m. Except for the holiday months like Thanksgiving and December. So hopefully we can see more of you guys there in the future and see Twin West in their leadership role in that respect. So it's, of course, it's so wonderful. This is so cool, really it is. I've already been snapping a bunch of photos and putting them out on social media because this is really great. Have such a wonderful cross-section of our community to come together and celebrate many of our accomplishments, but also celebrate some of our aspirational goals, what we're trying to shoot for this year in 2020. Of course, I'm not the only one that welcomes you here. You've already gotten some introductions from our wonderful city council members. You've already met Councilmember Jillian Rosenquist and Councilmember Larry Faunus, and of course I especially want to welcome our 2 newest members to the city council. They're going to get tired of me saying that. Maybe I'll stop doing it after this. But anyway, Councilmember Maurice Harris and Councilmember Kimberly Sandberg. So we're so thrilled on behalf of the entire city council. We're thrilled to have you guys here. And of course, we're very lucky to have, as you can see when we do these introductions, that we've got we really are blessed to have a great cross-section of members of our community, whether it's our school districts, whether it's our human service organizations, it's our individual businesses. We've got residents who are on our commissions who are here today, or just residents who are new to our community who are coming to find out what things are like in Golden Valley and what's happening. So we're really thrilled to have you here. And speaking of that, I just have to do a quick plug because I'm looking at Jim right now. If you want to learn more about our wonderful history here in Golden Valley, and it really is a wonderful and fascinating history, we've got a couple of activities coming up, including one next week. Actually, on Sunday at Brookview Community Center, we have our monthly our Market in the Valley. And so if you have any historical items, I know there are people who were born and raised in Golden Valley and have wonderful stories about what it was like as a child at Golden Valley High School or what have you. If you have some of those items and you're interested in sharing those, not giving them away, but sharing them with the Historical Society, they're going to be at our Market in the Valley on Sunday, this Sunday, March 8th, at Brookview Community Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then next week, they have a really fascinating program about Golden Valley's first peoples. Dakota History, Culture, and Decolonizing Practices today, March 12th, at Golden Valley Historical Society. So if you want more information, talk to Jim about that. So of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to New Bohemia. I don't know who you are back there, but you know, you're behind the bar. What's your name back there? What is it? Shane. Shane and Sam have been wonderful to get here a little early and open up the shop for us. So thank you very much. We really do appreciate you guys being wonderful hosts. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all of you for just being here today. I know it's the middle of the day. We're trying something new, as Shannon said. And, to me at least, it looks like a smashing success. Of course, the less I talk, probably the more of a smashing success it will be. So I just wanted to acknowledge and thank you. I can't think of a more fun way to kick off the weekend in Golden Valley by being here in one of our local businesses with so many of our community members, whether or not that involves an alcoholic beverage or not, that's fine. It's great to start the weekend off that way with you guys. But first, a public safety announcement. I want to give kudos to our friends over at the Perpich Center. We were at our Golden Valley Business Council meeting last week, had a great presentation about the Perpich Center, and of course the hand sanitizer couldn't have come at a more opportune, unfortunately, but at a more opportune time. And I know some of us already this morning are doing either the elbow check or the chicken wing, whatever you want to call it, or the fist pump. Yes, that is going to be consuming our attention over the coming days and weeks, and so I just want to assure you that we in Golden Valley are ready for this. We have already been reviewing our internal protocols. I know that our school districts have been doing the same thing. We know that our human service organizations are also talking a lot about this. We have been in contact with our county officials. Where's Bill back there from Commissioner Fernando's office? We've been in contact with our county officials on this, as well as our state officials. And so hopefully this doesn't consume all of our time and efforts in the coming days and weeks and months, but if it does, we're ready, and we're ready to work with you, and especially in something we were saying just with Michelle a few minutes ago, Michelle Ness with PRISM, is that if there are things that you are hearing, let us know. And likewise, what we hear, we need I think the most important thing that we need to do on this is communication. Not panic, not be alarmists, but the better we have the communication, the better that I think we'll be able to ride this storm and get through it. So I just wanted to do that. Now back to the State of the City address here. As some of you know, I always look forward to this event because it really is a celebration of not only who we are, but frankly, who we want to be. And in 2019, the City of Golden Valley had quite a few successes, many which are core to our city's vision and mission and values, which when I introduced Tim Cruikshank and he goes through the slide presentation, you're going to see the mission and vision, and you're going to see those values in a few minutes. Or maybe they'll start doing it now. But I wanted to give you 4 key highlights of success that I think that we accomplished in 2019. Some which you will see here in a few minutes in more detail. But for starters, passage of the new ordinance raising the sales of tobacco to the age of 21 and the banning of flavored tobacco. I want to thank specifically Councilmember Larry Faunus for being the leader on this one and pushing so hard over the years for us to get to this point, and our fantastic staff for doing wonderful community outreach on that issue. A second issue is housing improvements. You'll see in a few minutes that we are growing. We continue to grow as a community. But what is important is how we grow, encouraging the creation of or the maintenance of diverse housing for our seniors or for people who are on low incomes or fixed incomes. The third area, which I'm thrilled about, is our improved outreach and communication. So if you just Google, if I get really boring here, it's a great thing that you guys are looking this way and the TVs are off. Otherwise you'd be looking at all the basketball games and the stupid tricks somebody's doing on that TV. But if you get really bored with me in the next few minutes, Google Golden Valley and you're going to see Facebook, you're going to see Instagram, you're going to see Twitter, you're going to see YouTube, you're going to see obviously our website as well. You're going to see online surveys that are active right now. We are trying to do a better job of outreach and communication, and so I'm really thrilled how we've really upped the game. We've had some conversations as a council about how we can do a better job of even how far we've come now, but I'm excited. We are literally in the 21st century and doing that in a very active way. So I think that's a huge accomplishment. Last but not least is just our ongoing innovations and quick response times in our service delivery and programs. And there's 2 examples that I think of when I think of that innovation and when I think about the service delivery. One is creating a second position within our police department for a mental health police officer. You heard some of our police officers were introduced earlier, especially Chief Sturgis, who was being very modest. He just introduced himself as being part of the police department, but he is our chief. And came to us and said that this is a vital issue that we need to own. We need to be upfront about this, that there are friends, family, colleagues who are suffering from mental health or stress in their lives. We need to provide the support to them. And so I'm proud of the fact that we as a council have not only funded one, but now we are funding a second position to assist our residents and to assist our businesses in those times of crisis. And then on a more positive note, I think another phenomenal service to our community and another example of innovation is our Brookview Community Center. Just by a show of hands, who has been to the community center? Just raise your hand. Excellent. That's what I want to see. If you haven't been, it's a beautiful day after this, after you've had some brats and a beer or a drink, go on over, check out the 316. Great place to get dessert, by the way. That's our, not to compete with New Bohemia, but it's a great place to get some food. We've got wonderful facilities there. That's where we have our weekly Golden Valley Rotary get-togethers. That's where we have a number of activities. We've got our pub curling, which is a lot of fun, maybe on a day like this. Actually, it could still be fun. But our lawn bowling green is coming back. In fact, we're going to try a synthetic version of that. So we're always trying to innovate and experiment. And for those of you who didn't go to the Golden Valley Arts Artist Showcase, I think that was last month, or maybe it was in January. I can't remember. It was cool. It was I mean, I've never done virtual reality before. So if you haven't done that, I mean, literally being inside the artwork, it was a pretty cool thing. And just to see our residents, our artists, who've put forward some of the artwork. It was a great example, bringing community together, doing something innovative, partnering with our St. Louis Park friends. I think it was Discover St. Louis Park was part of that. It was a phenomenal turnout and a phenomenal activity. So Brookview is a place for innovation and for community services and programs. This year already, actually, I want to say one quick thing. A lot of these accomplishments is because it's happening because of the good vision, not only of our leadership, not only because of our fantastic, phenomenal city staff, but because of you. And we need to keep this going. This year already, we've already started to tackle some important issues, including just this week, we passed a proclamation condemning the practice of conversion therapy and urging our state legislature to enact a statewide ban. For those of you who may not be familiar with this, conversion therapy, in my opinion, and this is not, you know, it's a tough issue to talk about, but in my opinion, it's really, and forgive me if I'm offending anybody here, but it is an archaic, in my mind, barbaric, fake psychiatric practice. It's meant to prey primarily on young kids who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. And we, our council unanimously passed a proclamation condemning that practice, calling on our legislature to step up and to stop that. We need to protect our children. We need to protect everybody, but especially our children who are vulnerable to this type of practice. So, you know, we here are just not going to tolerate this prejudice and hate in Golden Valley toward our GLBTQ brothers, sisters, you know, fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters. So that's something that we've already started to do, which I'm very proud, in fact, I would say proud to be a part of. So going forward for the rest of 2020, I want to briefly highlight two signature items which will, in my opinion, I keep saying in my opinion, but I'm a little biased, obviously, and I hope that you will buy into this as well. But really two things that I think really are going to define and redefine this community for the next 80 years, for the rest of this century. There's two items. One is the Golden Valley downtown redesign, which I'll get to in a moment, and the other one is our Rising Tides Equity Task Force. So the Golden Valley downtown redesign, in a few minutes you're going to see some concepts on the screen that deal with increased housing, increased businesses, like a grocery store here in the downtown area, increased walkability, increased bikeability, and increased transit options like bus rapid transit right up and down Highway 55. And this is why we chose to have the State of the City address here at this location. Because we have a message that we want to send strongly, not just to you guys who are here, but for those who are watching or will be watching on CCX, for those who are going to be a part of our process going forward on this downtown redesign. And that message is very clear. Our community wants to see change. We want to see the change here. We want to see progress here in this area, right here, literally where we're standing or sitting, and in Golden Valley, here in the downtown area. And the burden of this change cannot solely be on the backs of our residents or on our local businesses. Together, we have an opportunity to create an exciting new legacy for the future of this community. So I really hope that you guys will join us as we go forward. And I hope you'll be excited by some of those concepts that you see that we are going to be discussing as we move forward this year. The second item, which I mentioned already, has great potential for significant positive change here in Golden Valley, and those are the recommendations that are going to be coming forward from the Rising Tides Equity Task Force. For us to get to that point, however, we need all of you, really. We need all of you and friends of yours, family members, colleagues of yours. Next week, March 11th, we have the Rising Tides Equity Task Force over at Brookview at 5:30 p.m. has an open forum. We need to hear from you on how we are, I'm trying to look for my main point here. We need your input. We need to reach out, frankly, and have an open discussion about reaching out and engaging communities of color, immigrants and refugees, people with disabilities, and others who frankly have been historically rejected by institutional bias. We need to make our community more diverse. We need to make our community more inclusive for our residents, for our businesses, and for people who are visiting this community. And if we succeed in this endeavor and really go beyond that slogan that all are welcome here, if we really take it beyond that, then this won't be something that comes at the expense of people who have privilege. Rather, this will create additional, in my opinion, monumental benefit for all of us in Golden Valley that no one has ever seen. So I hope that you will join us on that journey and help us shape this success. So now, Tim, you ready? Yeah. So now, he's looking at the basketball game there. It's UNC versus Duke. So now, to hear more opportunities, to be a part of this journey, of this opportunity, please welcome our city manager, Golden Valley City Manager, Tim Cruikshank.
No, I'll do like you did. I do need this clicker though. Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Aren't we fortunate to have a great cheerleader in our mayor, Mayor Harris? So thank you, Shep. When the mayor says we have great leadership, we do. We have visionary leaders, this council right here, and we have unified vision. That's a great thing for a community to have or any organization to have. We are blessed with that. We look forward to many great things to come, and we are moving in the right direction. The mayor gave a terrific overview of what we've got going on. I'm going to get into a little bit more kind of nuts and bolts, nitty gritty. I promise you I'm not going to take that long, maybe 20 minutes. Anything more than that and people are going to gloss over. So the mayor did talk about some higher level things, our values, our vision statement, our mission statement, and our welcome statement. These values, these statements guide who we are and how we do our business. It goes to the very core of who we are as people who work in the city, who live in the city, and how we act as an organization. And it helps determine the goals that we pursue and how we pursue them. So I'm going to kind of move quickly through those slides, but this presentation is online if people want to take more time and go into more detail on them. Making Golden Valley better. We are each and every day, and we hope that you all think so and are a part of it as well. We're going to talk a lot more about opportunities for you to be a part of that as we kind of move through this. How are we making Golden Valley better? The council, a few years back, decided there's 5 main buckets that we're going to focus on. These are those buckets: strategic development and redevelopment. We're going to go through some specifics in that area. Effective governance, again, how we govern who we are, how we act as a government. Infrastructure and maintenance, financial wellness, and then the last one, the newest one, community affairs, and we'll talk a little bit more about what all of those mean. Again, at a little bit higher level, I'll just say the first 4 have been around for quite a while because government has been around for quite a while, and these are pretty core things that we do. Historically basic things that we as government do. Community affairs has evolved over time, and our need to, as a city government, get more involved with that, and I'm going to talk about that in more detail. But let's start with strategic development and redevelopment. Wow, have we changed over the last 5 years. The very face of our community and the faces who live in our community have changed. In the last 5 years, we have either added or will have completed adding by the end of this year 1,700 new housing units. Right now, if you drive into the city and you look at the sign that says City of Golden Valley and the population, I think it says something like 20, maybe 21,000. We're up to almost 25,000 people, according to the new information from the Met Council. These are some of the developments as you drive around through our community and you see some of these buildings grow up out of the ground, and how it changes how we look and who we are. It's pretty phenomenal, and will continue to be an impact in our city over many, many years. Central Park West across the street is in St. Louis Park, but also a little bit of Golden Valley, highlighting this as a partnership that we have going on with the city of St. Louis Park. So that's happening as we speak. The mayor talked a lot about the downtown. What we consider our downtown, you are in the heart of. And it has to do with the intersection of WINNETKA and Golden Valley Road. So think of the 4 quadrants in that area or this area. And we are in a full-on study. I think we're moving into phase 3 over the course of the year 2020. So meaning we've already been through 2 phases, and as we go through more and more phases, we continue to refine, get into more detail about what could or couldn't happen. So those are the 4 quadrants. I'm just going to talk very briefly about the quadrants and what could be. This is all concept, this is all discussion. So the first quadrant is the southwest quadrant. It is the quadrant that we are in. I'm going to ask Cheryl or Tomas to point to right where we're sitting. If you look close enough, you can see, right up a little bit higher, right where we are. And right now what we're proposing or saying could happen there is reconfiguring this existing shopping center. We don't control it, we don't own it, or maybe something would have happened sooner, but we don't. It's privately owned, so we are in partnership or want to be in partnership with the private owners of the buildings. And mostly what we're going to talk about is not owned by the city, it's owned by private folks. And so what we're going to be talking about is aspirational, it's concept, and we need to be working with folks. So this shopping center, largely reconfiguring. In the middle, you see the potential for connection for bikeways and walkways. We're going to talk a lot more about that in a little bit. To the west of this building, where the Wells Fargo property is, where the old, I think it was a Health Partners clinic, the potential for more density, more housing could happen there. So again, just concepts about what could happen. Moving over to the southeast quadrant, which is over there on that side of WINNETKA, mostly not a lot of change. We're hoping for some bike and ped connections again, but the buildings that are there, the services that are there, the amenities that are there are good. They're in decent shape, and so not a lot of desire, not a lot of need for us to advocate or work with partners to make things happen. As we move to the north, so the northwest quadrant, just in that direction, we've seen over history where communities have turned our backs to water. And you think about Minneapolis, St. Paul, and water rivers in particular have been sort of dumping grounds for communities and for cities. But in the last 20 years or so, there's been a movement to try to flip that around and face the water and take more advantage of that natural amenity. You see that happening also in Minneapolis and St. Paul. You see it happen with the Riverwalk down in San Antonio is kind of the classic example to use. Well, right here in Golden Valley, we want to do the same thing. We don't have the Mississippi River going through or the Minnesota River, but we have Bassett Creek. We would like to work with the private property owners to possibly see some kind of housing along the north side of Bassett Creek, just to the north of us. And then to the north of that, to the north of 10th, is the Loose Line Trail, and maybe make some kind of an amenity happen there as well to take better advantage of the Loose Line. Let's move to the northeast quadrant. So I said that a lot of what we're going to talk about around redeveloping our downtown has to do with private property. The exception is the northeast quadrant. The city owns almost everything in that quadrant except for McDonald's, the library. That's, I think, probably it. So that we have more control of, and that's why it matters who owns the property. One of the things that we need to figure out is what the future of our public facilities is going to be, so we could work with private developers to maybe see something different happen in that quadrant. So for example, right now where City Hall sits, basically kitty corner from here, could that be something different? Could that be something better? Should it be? That's prime property. So if we could figure out where City Hall could be or should be, maybe that moves. Maybe that moves to the north, and we have a partnership with Hennepin County Library. And maybe it's a 2 or 3 story building with the library, City Hall, public services like that. Currently, kind of more to the north and east in that quadrant, sits all of our public works garages, big sheds filled with big equipment. Is that the most efficient use for that area? Probably not, but the big question is, where are they going to go exactly? So that's why we need to do a city facility study. We need to figure out where we're going to be in the long run so we can have development happen in the best and most appropriate way in this city. So we'll be engaging in a study over the next year or two. Thank you, Mr. Nowinski. And this, by the way, is also a council action step. The mayor pointed out a couple of goals that the council agreed to make happen for 2020, and this is one of them, along with continuing to plan for and see redevelopment in our downtown. So what these pictures show are the age of our facilities. So I don't want anyone to be under the impression that we're going to be prematurely bulldozing city buildings. I think we've gotten our worth out of them. All right, let's move on to the next pillar, effective governance. Effective governance encompasses a lot of things, but we have really been focusing on one main area, communications. Our communications team has really done an outstanding job of doing more, different, and better. The world today, our community today demands more of us. They demand more information. They demand, and rightly so, they demand to be more involved. Not the old-fashioned kind of way where you got to show up to meetings or take time out of your day that maybe isn't convenient or work in your personal schedule. So we're really trying to take advantage of technology as it's presented itself. A lot more surveys that are happening. Surveys are crucial. Our council loves to get the feedback. They love to get that summary report of what that survey information says. It's a great tool for them to help them make decisions, and they want to hear from you. And granted, it's hard to come in at every Tuesday night at 6:30, take that time out of your day and share that information. So if there are other ways we can make that happen, we want to do it. We are active in social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you're not already following us, please do so. Soon, we'll be coming active on Nextdoor, so those of you that are on Nextdoor or follow Nextdoor will be active on that as well. So hats off to our communications department. We're open to comments and feedback on how we can do better at communicating. But the reason communication is so important is because of participation. In a democracy, we need people to participate, and it's so hard to keep people doing that. So please participate. Please take advantage of our social media. All right, moving on to infrastructure maintenance and enhancement, another really kind of old school core and basic thing. But it matters. It matters that we have good roads, that we have sewer systems and water that works. And we have been putting a lot of time and money into it and a lot of effort. The other and new initiatives as well, excuse me. So for years, we've been trying to make light rail happen in our community, the Blue Line. The Blue Line extension that would go from Minneapolis out to Brooklyn Park. And we have been pushing that rock up that steep hill for a long time, and sometimes we hit roadblocks. But we are not going to stop. We are determined. We are going to see a connection that goes from Minneapolis to Brooklyn Park if it's the last thing we do. And it's had steam. It's had steam in the past. Right now, admittedly, not going to lie, it's in a bit of a lull. But we are not going to stop pushing. We believe in the value and the benefit of mass transportation and especially LRT. But also to that point, this is the line that goes from through Golden Valley. We have 2 stops, 2 stations, one at Golden Valley Road, the other at, I think, was it Plymouth Avenue. So those are our 2 stops. We're ready. We're ready to go whenever they push the button. The other line that we're working on is bus rapid transit. When LRT came along, the idea of it and how it maybe should go through the West Metro, there was a lot of discussion about whether it should go down Highway 55. Bus rapid transit is probably the best, more reasonable solution to that. So we're looking at a bus rapid transit connection from Minneapolis all the way out to Medina. There have been a number of meetings that include and have been led by Commissioner Fernando's office. Councilmember Rosenquist is our designated council lead on these 2 topics, around transportation in general. But city representatives from Minneapolis, Golden Valley, Plymouth, and Medina, commissioners from Hennepin County and Wright County present, Met councils involved, the state's involved. When that many partners get together and agree on something, that's dangerous. Something's going to happen. So we're very optimistic about that. A lot of partnering happening with that project as well. All right, continuing, I'm moving. Pavement management started back in 1995, so we're approaching, well, I guess we're at 25 years. Is that 25? Is that math right? We're expected to be done by 2023. That's almost 30 years of repaving all of the streets in our city. The green are those that have been paved already. The black and the orange, I believe, represent those that haven't yet. But in the next 2-3 years or so, they will be completed. After that's completed, we'll move into our next phase that deals with the pipe under the ground. Less visible, a little less sexy, but not that streets are that sexy, but at least you can see it. So that major project will be coming to an end very soon. Talked about trails and connections. Lot of lines going on here. This represents all of the bike and pedestrian connections that either exist or that we're working on happening in our community. We advocate, have been, and will continue advocating for getting people out of their cars, for people getting out and moving, people getting out walking and biking and using our trails. And it's reasonable and practical in Golden Valley to actually use it to get to and from work because of our location and the number of jobs that we have in our city. So we are big proponents of that. We have a network that's been put together, and we're building it. Also in partnership with Three Rivers, extending the Bassett Creek Trail extension. We will continue working with them on it. So we're just east of Highway 100 here, and I'm looking at the blue line, if you will, the aqua or the light blue line. So the dotted line is the piece in particular that we're referring to. Also the green dotted line to the west. But the connection piece is mainly the blue dotted line that goes out to Body Lane just past Courage Kenny. So we're hoping to see that happen in the next couple of years as well. Highway 55 Douglas, we've been working on this a long time to make this happen. In the last 3 years, you may have noticed a much improved Douglas Drive. The partnership between the county and the city is the result of a $25 million investment, about split in half between those two entities. What we didn't do is finish the project coming to the south into Perpich. So what this project would do, and it's about $7 million that we have been working on trying to get from the state, and with luck this session we will be successful, but to put a pedestrian underpass under Highway 55 for those buses that are stopping at Perpich folks, and get those kids safely to and from school when they get dropped off. But in addition to that, it's a larger connector when we talk trails and bike and ped connections. So it connects a whole system on the north side of 55 to the south side. So that's what's going on there. And then water quality and flood control. We've been working mainly up in the northwest part of town, at the intersection of Medicine Lake Road and WINNETKA, putting together a whole network of ponds to help mitigate flooding that's been going up there for years. Over the last 20 years, we've experienced floods that have significantly adversely impacted that intersection where cars can't get through the intersection. There are 39 properties, mostly residential, some businesses, that have been underwater. They've had 3, 4, 5 feet of water in their basements. As opposed to taking out an entire neighborhood, we decided to invest with the state and many partners about another $25 million to put in this ponding system that preserves that neighborhood and keeps the public infrastructure safe in the event of a large storm event. Okay, so loud groans at this point can happen. So CenterPoint has been in and around town making improvements for the last several years, and not only in Golden Valley, but when they come to town, they typically are doing work in the street, and when they're in the street, it affects traffic. So when you're driving around, you may have been impacted by it. A lot of frustration over the years. This will be a big one. Not gonna kid you. WINNETKA Avenue is going to be interrupted. It's not going to be shut down, but traffic will be diverted. I think two lanes will still be open, but shifted over. So it's going to be, this summer is going to be a little bit nightmarish until the project is done. So beware of that. The good news, after this year, I think CenterPoint is out of town. The other good news, and I know you're going to love this, is that we do have safer pipes in the ground for all the gas that's moving through our city. So. All right, the next topic is financial wellness. All right, so we talked about all the investments that we're making. Well, with that, there's a cost, and the city has invested heavily in our infrastructure. What you see here, starting in 2014, and it was before this, but is the fact that we've issued a lot of debt to make these improvements in our city. There was a time in 2016 we were almost at $90 million in debt. $90 million for a city of our size is a little bit more than we would want. But we had the need. We're an inner ring suburb where we're at in our age. We needed to renew our infrastructure, and it was the right thing to do. So everything except the brown is basically infrastructure. The brown on top is our beautiful Brookview, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. But what you see here is the trend coming down. Our council has really put together an effort and initiative to try to be more conservative, more cautious around issuing debt. So it is coming down, and everyone is feeling a lot better about that situation. And then fiscal disparity is a very complicated, old formula that we're going to be working on very aggressively this year. And I'm just going to summarize this super quickly. So the city basically has been contributing to other metro area cities because we have the ability to do so. And that, there's some good in that. But we want to continue to contribute, but contribute less because we need to keep more of it to take care of our basic needs. So that initiative will be happening as well. Community affairs, the fifth and final column. This area has really exploded over the last 5, 10, 15 years where the basic and core things that cities have been doing prior to that just isn't enough. We need to do more. We need to get more involved. Life is complicated. Society is complicated. There's more of a need for cities to do more than just the basic and core things. And let's give some examples. So we've really gotten involved in the environment. We are a member of the MPCA's Green Step Cities program. We're at step 4. There are 5 steps. 4 years ago we started this. We're already at step 4. By the end of this year, well, probably by the end of 2021, we will have reached and become a step 5 city. And what that means is that we're taking and doing a lot of different environmental initiatives, like being an advocate for pollinators, just as one example. So another area that we're getting way more involved, and the mayor mentioned this, is our equity task force. We call it our Rising Tides. Tides stands for Trust, Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Social Justice. We have really come a long way. I think we're trying to really be out in front and aggressive about this. There's full agreement on our efforts here and the need to make these things happen, and so we continue doing that. Last year we saw our council take a leadership role in banning tobacco, but maybe a little bit more importantly, because tobacco I think has been banned at the federal level, if I'm not mistaken, but prohibiting the sale of flavored tobacco, including menthol. That makes us unique. So we're at the front edge of regulating and frankly prohibiting the sale of tobacco and flavored tobacco in the metro area and around the state. And hats off to Councilmember Faunas for his leadership in that area. Affordable housing, again, another long ongoing problem. The city of Golden Valley has an affordable housing plan. Now we need to implement it, and we continue to work on and talk about what we're going to do about affordable housing. The mayor mentioned our community health officers and what we're doing around mental health. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but a very important program and initiative. Thank you, Chief Sturgis, for leading that effort. Organics, again, around recycling and how we collect the garbage that comes out of our homes. You're going to be hearing a whole lot more about this over the next year or two. The mayor mentioned conversion therapy, so I won't spend time on it. And then, so that takes up our community affairs in fifth column. So that completes that. I'm almost done. Hang with me. I've got two more areas I want to talk about that are uniquely Golden Valley, and one is Brookview. The mayor talked quite a bit already about Brookview, but Mr. Burno is here. Mr. Burno, raise your hand, who runs our Brookview. Wow, has this place changed Golden Valley. It is a bit of a step up from what we had and how it's run and what we do out there, and we're very proud of our Brookview. Some of the events and the things that we do out there are amazing. If you've not been at the upper level in the summer and out on the deck, it's breathtaking. Do it. Have an event out there. And I do. There are other activities that occur during the winter, comedy, other outside things. Here's the indoor playground for the kids. We've had lawn bowling for a while, but now we have the outdoor pub curling that you see on the right. If you haven't done that, please get out there. We've talked about the 316. So that's Brookview. We love Brookview. Helps define who we are. Thank you, Mr. Burno. Events. This is the last topic. We have events like crazy going on in our city. If you aren't involved, if you are bored, there's something not right, because we've got things going on from public safety in the parks to Run the Valley, a fundraiser for our Human Services Commission, concerts in the park all summer long, and so on and so forth. There are so many things happening each month of the year that it's remarkable. At our council meetings, we have a calendar, and the mayor goes through that calendar with the council. And I think every time he says, wow, do we have a lot going on this month? Because we do. So many things happening. I do want to just draw special attention to the International Cross Country Skiing Championship that starts, is it next weekend? You know, they say it's in Minneapolis, but it's really in Golden Valley. And then other just terrific events that we have happening here that we're so proud of, including Sweet Potato Pie event and Pride. And then I'm done. Just going to wrap up by saying follow us, and all the things we do on all of our social media and on our website. So I'm going to leave you with that. I want to thank you. Sam, if you're here, if you can hear me, thank you for hosting. You've been terrific. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. Thank you all for working for the city of Golden Valley, for living in the city of Golden Valley, for volunteering and contributing, because you all are what make Golden Valley great. Thank you. Stick around. Have a beer.